A and aloha and welcome to the first day of the rest of our lives.
Hello, everybody.
This is Brother Ray Ray, my roommate, my good friend, my uncle to my kid, and this is Valentine's Day. I warned you guys, I did my backseat quarterback yesterday. I said this is the last time it's going to be streaming. Now it's live. If you're not listening, you missed it.
Too late.
We'll do this again though.
Oh, yeah.
And talk about grassroots. We're growing from zero. And I've always said grassroots snowball effect.
Fair.
Not pods. I named it Not Pods for a reason. Not to be sitting in a studio and you can watch my shit.
No
This is live.
preservatives.
Yes.
No, this is not canned goods.
Not homogenized. This is straight off the frickin' teat of the cow. Speaking of that, who was the first guy that drank the cow's milk and thought that's a good idea?
Not me.
Okay.
Not it.
So Ray, we've been talking, this is a very perceptive and smart guy. And handsome as shit too.
Handsome on radio, that is.
Yeah, if you saw him, keep your women away from Ray.
I look good on audio, right?
So we've been talking about this for months, but let's just get right into how can corporations that come into communities help out? And we talk about the Lahaina incident, 6 months ago, June?
Yeah. Goodness, that in itself is it's a very complicated, unfortunate, but very realistic situation that took place here in our region, our state. But it exemplifies something that is quite possible and capable and highly likely for everybody that could be listening, regardless of where you live. You know what I'm saying? It's a situation that we're unfortunately wrong. The worst possible case scenario took place, and the aftermath, with a great deal of devastation, loss of lives, the tremendous loss of life, devastation, frustration, and just strife was inflicted upon people that really had nobody to blame, right? Call it natural events, but they also had nobody to turn to. There was no leadership to actually take control of the situation and not only give answers, but certainly not take action to relieve the people in a
very small community.
Right, a very small,
isolated,
very lucrative, very high dollar region where all these people paid a lot of taxes and stuff. And they just, at the end of it all, they did not have their government officials, be it county, state, federal. Nobody was there to turn to. And I didn't realize we'd start the conversation in this way. I really assumed we would be talking initially on the sports side of things, but that's not really my area of expertise, Rich.
We're talking sports, we're talking life.
Right, but I guess, how I figured we'd start the conversation was, this Sunday while everybody was watching the Super Bowl, right, and it captured the attentions of the entire nation, and definitely anybody listening to this is well aware of how the game played out and whatnot. What you might not be aware of is the fact that on a Sunday, without you knowing, Congress voted on a bill to approve another $93 billion in relief aid for the conflicts that are taking place both in Israel as well as Ukraine, as well as potential situations that may or may not even take place in Taiwan and elsewhere. And,
yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's our tax money.
That is our tax money. So, like, if you bet on the game this weekend, right, you're hoping for the Chiefs to win it, you're hoping for the Niners to win it, maybe you won a few grand, right? Maybe you lost a few grand, hundreds, whatever. If you're Drake, maybe you made $1 million. You know, whatever. That's not most of us. But the reality is, all of us pay taxes, from the uber rich.
They did this shit on Super Bowl Sunday.
Who votes on a Sunday? Let me ask you that, right?
So they
Is that
opened up
normal?
like a special Congress.
Good question. But let me just tell you, that's the situation that is at.
Didn't
It's
we
been-
fight England over taxes 250 years ago?
Won't be that as it may.
And they just steal our fuck.
You take
effing
England
money,
out of
bro.
the equation. You take Rome, whoever the case may be. It's really just the rich ruling class taking from the working class, right?
More and more.
And well, most people are very focused on who won the Super Bowl, the halftime show, what Taylor Swift was wearing, all this type of stuff. The reality is, Lahaina is still in need of aid, and nobody is paying attention. And that, more importantly to me,
They did for a week.
right? But even then, the facts that were portrayed to the viewers and the audience nationally, who I genuinely feel actually care about these citizens, right? You don't have to live in Hawaii to actually care about the residents of Maui and Lahaina. If you're an American, if you're a taxpayer, if you're a voter, if you are a human being, you cared about what took place in the tragedy and the devastation, the loss of lives, right? Now, we can't undo what took place. Unfortunately, however, though, there is a fact of the matter that is this: it's going to take money to actually repair the homesteads and restore the quality of life and the living situations of the peoples that were affected by this. And unfortunately, you know, the biggest thing to me, regardless of, again, who won the game or not, is the reality is that on this Sunday, Congress voted to pass $93 billion in aid to other nations, all of which these nations are not Americans or taxpayers and do not deserve our dollars. This is more so, Rich.
Just to keep them in office.
This is the point of conversation that I would prefer to address, as opposed to anything directly sports related. But I would ask all your audience and viewers and anybody else even casually listening to understand that regardless of whether or not your team won or lost, regardless of any of that stuff, if you're a taxpayer, you deserve to know and decide where your dollars are spent. Okay?
It's too late for that, Ray.
Is it though?
They warned us 270 years ago.
All right, well, here's the year I live in right here and now, right? Born in the 80s, here we are in 2024. Like it or not, this is what it is, okay? Regardless of all the other details that everybody can compare against one another, the fact of the matter is, are you a citizen of this nation or not?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So am I. Do you pay your taxes or do you not?
Out the ass.
Okay.
They steal our money.
Don't you deserve to have some say as to where this money goes
What
on a both
We
state and federal
deserve
level?
that. We don't have.
And this is a point I would like to address, because the reality is this: a lot of people, right, nationwide, even worldwide, are looking for leadership of a nation, an entire country, to make the right decisions for a populace of hundreds of millions of people, but they don't actually know what's best for these people. So my point there is, rather than assigning blame or being pissed off at leadership, what can we do on a local and regional level to secure our quality of life, right? Directly in your home, for your family, for your loved ones, for the people around you, for your community, for your county, for your state, in our case, for your island and your entire island group, right? What can we do to ensure a cohesive, cooperative effort to ensure our well-being in an economic sense, right? And if we can't look to the Chiefs or the Niners or this guy or that guy or either party, red, blue, whatever, if we can't look for a superhero, how do we heal and remedy the conflicts that we're faced with? You know what I'm saying? And that's more so the conversation that I am interested in discussing today. You know?
Oh, for sure. So, I'm all sports all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't give a shit
That's your
basically
area,
about...
that's your expertise, man.
It
for
is.
Sure.
And to me, it's always just been... It's almost to the point for me that voting is for suckers because it's a puppet regime, and the big 3 or 4 pharmas
I have a hard time
and
denying this.
they run the shit, and Congress has we're the guys out in front that pull the strings. The
Well, elected officials answer to lobbyists
Lobbyists,
and
yes.
special interest groups,
which is run by the money.
investors,
And to
right?
me, there's
It's a dollar
nothing we can
democracy.
do. Even if you vote a guy in, he gets in, you can't write a letter to your senator anymore, and it's going to make a difference. To me,
I think there's most people overwhelmingly feel like that is true on a national level, but in a local sense, we still live in a democratic society. Okay, and if you believe in this,
on
right?
a local like county
state level,
and state,
yeah,
okay,
people can
Possibly.
still come up with an initiative, propose a bill.
What is yours? Tell me about yours that we have talked about.
Well, that's what we're getting to. But what I'm saying is, even if a lot of people are disillusioned by what takes place in a larger sense, they still have the opportunity to act and decide, okay, within their realm of control. And what I mean by that is, for those of us who do, obviously all of us pay our taxes, we're all a part of this country, we are all members and citizens of this nation, and we have every right to feel empowered and to believe in this,
And
right?
that they should care about us.
And or even if they don't, what can we do for ourselves? Let's take they out of the equation. What do you want to do for us and you? What can you do for us and you? Take
For me,
them or they
For
out of
me and the average person, it feels helpless.
I think you are not alone. I think the majority of people would feel
That's
that
why
way.
you're here.
Okay, so let me propose a concept in a specific.
By the way,
and
this one's going to be streamable.
Okay.
Tomorrow we start live.
Yeah.
Because this shit's important. Okay,
It's your
go
show.
ahead. Yes.
Here's what I would say, right? For all of you, specifically, I'm talking to you, people of Hawaii. Okay. Kanakas, Kama'ainas, visitors even, okay, entrepreneurs, residents, citizens, whatever category of demographic you feel you belong to. If you're here, we know you love it. You love us. You love this place. You love everything about it. If you're from this, you're passionate about it. You belong to this. You want nothing else. But how do we preserve the quality of life for those who deserve it, fight for it, are a part of it, and pay into it? How do we preserve that? Let me just say this. We put the democratic process to work on our own level. And what I mean by that is this. Everybody knows that dollars make sense, make the rules, okay? So, if you work for a corporation if you manage a business, if you live in an area, put your kids through school, pay taxes, you're a part of any utility, anything like that, here in Hawaii, you have an invested interest in the well-being of all our islands. And in this case specifically, we all pour our hearts out for Lahaina, for Maui, okay? But what happened there is not just possible there. Lahaina suffered a crazy wildfire, right? But this could happen in another case. Could it be flooding? Could be hurricanes? Could be drought.
Which have already happened.
All these different scenarios that could rock a society and a community could take place in different areas, right? And who's there to turn to? Who can we depend on?
Barely the federal. They come in FEMA,
Okay.
comes in for a little bit,
Right.
but there's nothing from the
We saw
local.
what happened in Hurricane Katrina, right? And that was 20 years ago. There's also
There's nothing from the local level, yeah?
there's flooding in California. There's wildfires in the Northwest. There's hurricanes along the East Coast and the Southeast.
Tornadoes.
Texas, all these areas of the nation are straining our federal relief, right? And the response is never enough. It's not enough. We'll get to you, we'll do what we can, we'll send the Red Cross, GoFundMe, all of that. It doesn't actually work. It does not actually cover the costs. Specifically here in Hawaii, in Maui and Lahaina, the unfortunate part about all this is that all of those who ran from the fires and were lucky enough to survive, but unfortunate to deal with the loss of loved ones and family members, right? In the aftermath, after the fires died down, which they were not put out by state and county agencies, certainly not federal. Okay.
Mass negligence.
Be that as it may, regardless of pointing fingers, right?
Okay, yes.
Unless the fire chief, I don't care if he's Clark Kent. Doesn't matter. Chief of police, I don't care if he's Bruce Wayne. Fuck him. It doesn't matter. These individuals, elected officials, do not actually have what it takes to combat a scenario like that. Unfortunately, private interests did allow for certain officials to be elected and certain resources to be diverted. Specifically,
And denied.
specifically water, and the authority for local fire departments to have access to water reserves to fight the fire. Now, you can even take that away. Well, Maui only had so many fire trucks and so many personnel, right? This is a very bad scenario of high winds, dry season, down power lines, whatever you want to call it, okay? Perfect storm scenario. Now, we can't undo that, and it's not wise to blame any one or group of individuals for the loss of life, okay? Because nobody intended for that. But in the aftermath, who is responsible for restoring quality of life and preserving the rights for these residents of Lahaina to remain in their homes without being displaced, okay? The unfortunate part about this, the majority, I won't even say the majority, but a good percentage of the peoples that lost their house in Lahaina, right? A lot of these people, this is their second house. Don't even live full time there. Certainly not from the place. We don't hold that against them, but it's a fact. Another percentage of the people that lost
Kind
their
of do.
residence, no, hold on, they had nothing to do with that.
That's true.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
for people with insurance policies that will get a payout, they only represent a small percentage of the displaced and the disadvantaged, all right? Now you take a good percentage of the rest of the people that had their residence burned down, their homes burned down, and or lost loved ones. A lot of those people were not actually even homeowners. There is a smaller percentage of people that are long-term actual native residents of that island and that area that lived there. A small percentage were homeowners. Unfortunately, of all these different groups, anybody who lost a loved one, it's a tragedy, okay? But if you're a renter, there is no payout from your insurance. If you own 2 or 3 different properties around the nation, if you're a multimillionaire and you only live in Lahaina so many months out of the year, it's unfortunate, but you have options, right? And for everybody else, it's refugee camps. But now FEMA will not be there forever. And they don't have all the answers. And we can't blame them because
And the next one's coming.
the next storm, it could be, it could be Kauai next, it could be Big Island, it could be Oahu,
There's
it could
probably
be
been 3
San Diego,
cents.
it
Yep.
could be Miami, it could be everybody else
Alabama.
that depends on federal aid is also on the list to wait
So
in line.
talk to us, how are we gonna make it? I like your idea.
This is more than anything, right? We know the losses, we know the details, the statistics, and the scandal, the corruption, and all that is coming to light. Okay.
Preach, brother.
Once we look past that, right? Rather than looking for who to blame, because a witch hunt does not absolve
Get you
demons.
nowhere.
Well, you take out one witch, but you got plenty of demons to deal with still in the future. If you ostracize, convict, whatever public officials, and appease public frustration and hatred, that will not
There's just
actually,
another one coming after him.
well, that will not allow the people to stay there, and it won't give them a home to live on. So right now, unfortunately, public officials are looking into options of displacing these people and say, oh, let's just move them to Big Island, let's just move them over here, let's just kick them out of the way, whatever, right? I don't think that's fair, and it's not right.
It's not their home.
Okay, just like the people of Ukraine, they don't necessarily deserve a home in Kona, and we're sorry about their situation, but that doesn't mean they need to be kicked out of their home and brought here. The people in Gaza, it's unfortunate, but you can't just throw them into Kapa. It won't work. How do we keep these people here? How do we pay for the costs of housing the individuals who are displaced in the Lahaina wildfires? And my answer is this, right? And this is something that I've considered and I've thought about.
I love this.
And when I think
We've
about
talked
it,
about this
it's
for
because
months.
I believe in this country. I pay my taxes. We're all a part of this, and we deserve the right to come up with our own solutions, okay, in a local, regional sense, without waiting for Superman to come and save us. I don't care if your favorite president is in office or not, doesn't matter. They weren't there, fuck them. They can't help us. Here's what I would say. If we live in a democratic society, which we tell the rest of the world that we do, and we preach that and we push that, okay, fine, let's put it to the test. You pay your taxes, you vote, here's what I propose, right? Pay attention. I think all people of the Hawaiian Islands, of this state, all counties, have the opportunity to collectively write up and propose a bill that would apply, and I don't say impose, I say apply, a relief tax for this type of event to all corporations, businesses, entities, right? Every franchise, anybody that operates within this state.
From mom and pop to McDonald's.
Everybody that pays taxes, from the big fish to the littlest, right? Let's say you're an airline. I'm talking to you, American, Delta, okay, United, Southwest, Hawaiian, Japan Airlines, all of you, everybody. If you land in Hawaii, sell flights in and out of here, that's you. If you're a hotel, you Hyatts, Marriotts, Sheratons, Hiltons, doesn't matter. Airbnb even, VRBO, doesn't matter. If you generate revenue here, you're a part of this. Chevron, Texaco, Shell, okay, all you gas stations, all you McDonald's, you Burger Kings, you Jack in the Box, you Safeways, you Walmarts, you Home Depots, Verizon, Starbucks, everybody in a corporate sense, and even small businesses, you too. If you've been operating here in Hawaii for 20, 30, 40, 50 years or 2 years, if you've been harvesting from the garden, you have an obligation and an opportunity to reinvest in this ecosystem to ensure the livelihood, the quality of life, the productivity, and the future of this area. You have the right, the obligation, the opportunity to become part of those who help generate relief, because we're not asking the rest of the nation. We're not asking California. We're not asking Colorado. We're not asking Washington or Wyoming to pay for this problem, because they have their own problems to deal with.
And for sure not asking DC.
They don't even know what's up.
Okay,
How long did it take what's his name to show up?
It
Was it 8 days, 12 days? How long did Homeboy take to show up?
At Katrina?
No, I'm talking about the guy that was over here fussing about like he almost lost his cat in his Corvette. That guy, the one that doesn't really know how to walk off stage. Joey something or whatever.
Oh.
Yeah, that guy.
That can't talk?
Yeah, I don't remember his name. But anyways, check this out.
Okay.
We're not waiting for them to show up. And we're not even asking...
Make our own coffers.
We're not even asking all these other entities that operate outside of the state to participate, right? But if you're here, if you've been generating and receiving revenue, if you've been operating, give back. You've been harvesting from the garden, it's time to put in work. All these companies and corporations and franchises that I've mentioned, you have the right to participate and give back. And here's how I say...
Malama.
Absolutely. Here's how I say this could happen, right?
What you got, Ray Ray? Preach. We talked about this for months.
All you voters, all you taxpayers, all you residents, you have the opportunity to collectively and cooperatively write up a bill and push it to your local
and
Congress,
this is
council,
not
and
federal.
Senate.
This is
just
state.
Right, because there's state law and there's federal law, right?
And federal just gets pushed under anyway.
Well, they're not here with no money. They want to give our money elsewhere. So we're definitely not asking for their help.
Okay.
We're not asking for their help.
Tell me about the bill.
I feel that with legal professionals, underwriters, grant writers, attorneys, collectively the community can come up with a bill that initiates and proposes a bill that says, hey, all corporate and just any business entity that operates here has to pay in a collective tax, right, on a tiered system. All islands, all counties participate and
into one
generate
coffer.
a small amount of revenue, a percentage really. And I'm no expert on this, bro, but I can say that this
Less than
percentage,
1%.
this percentage of let's just start off. Let's say in the first year, right, you come up with a 5% tax applied to all revenue.
I think you're
Hold
gonna
up.
fight that. Okay. Well,
It will. Okay, if that's the case,
Let's go
let
1%.
me just tell you this. Hold on.
huh.
This will not affect the shareholders, the bottom lines, and the benefits of
5%, I
these
think,
CEOs. Bro, it
I
will
think-
not affect their quality of life. You'll still get your private
But-
jets. You'll still have.
But they're
all of
gonna
this.
they're gonna think of that as an affront, even if it's point.
That's one way to look at it. You're right. Okay,
'Cause they're
yeah,
greedy.
you could be pissed off and say, well, I'm just a shareholder from Delaware. Why should I have to pay? Well, let me just tell you this. If you're a shareholder of any of these corporations from Delaware, you have the opportunity to be an American and to accept the opportunity to help
Oh, that's
fellow
what
citizens.
that's what we said. We make the bill sound like not something you have to do, but something that you want
The
to
perception
do.
is within the
The wording.
right, but it's also within like the mindsets of the people
The moral
who are
compass.
quote unquote affected. Because I'll tell you what, if you're a shareholder or if you're a CEO, you did not lose a loved one in this tragedy. You did not lose your home.
That's
you did
why
not
they won't
lose
care.
anything. Okay, well that's a general consensus, but it doesn't have to be a reality. These people can also be given the opportunity to give back
Right.
and feel good about themselves. And these companies.
And that's what we talk about. That's how we propose the bill. You don't say you have to do this.
It's not
This
an
is
imposed tax, it's an applied.
yeah, and it's an opportunity for you, and to have some pride in this place that you take from.
Absolutely.
And make all your money. And we're not Wyoming, and we're not California.
Look,
And
every
we are
garden,
not
every
New
orchard,
We are
it
Hawaii.
has
Nation.
its maintenance investment that is necessary to perpetuate. If you own a cattle field, if you own a apple orchard, if you own a strawberry fields, you have to do a certain amount of maintenance in order to perpetuate your profits in the future. And I feel all these entities, these companies, these brands that have been harvesting from this area up until now, this is your chance to pay in, okay? But collectively, we're not just saying the resorts, we're not just saying the airlines, we're not just saying the groceries.
Even the mom and pop.
Everybody.
And the thing too, in your Burger King, it's only the ones in Hawaii.
Yeah.
It's not 5% or 1% of all the whole country, right?
Yeah.
We're asking you to give back, and we're not in Wyoming. Like I said, we're not in New York. This is a special place, Hawaii ne. Here, on these beautiful islands that were taken away, and you can give. This is your opportunity to be a good citizen,
Right.
and not be greedy in all the other places.
What I'm saying is that's the
Right.
whole thing. Like, a company,
And,
right?
and feel like that you're blessed to be here
Let's
instead
say-
of just greed.
For example, so we'll leave names out. If your business operates on food to go and you operate with drive-throughs, right? and you do high volume internationally, right? We're not asking for your franchises on the West Coast or the Midwest or anywhere else to pay for this.
Only here.
We're just saying anybody that participates right here and now.
And most of them are franchised anyway, yeah? Privately owned.
Should have
on the side.
the inclination to give back to the markets from which listen, these are your employees.
And
this is their loved ones. This is your market.
And your patrons.
Yeah.
And it's a small community.
It's an opportunity for all. This doesn't have to be looked at as like, oh, let's dig into the pockets of the rich. No. This is just the people.
Opportunity for them to be good.
Working with. Okay, I'm talking about, when I say the people working with, I'm talking about the actual employees and the families and the loved ones of these communities that actually go to these businesses and generate revenue, right, outside of just tourism.
And work a shitty job, quite frankly.
But I would say, right?
To feed us.
But be that as it may, that shitty job, it generates money. In a collective sense, in a large-scale sense, it generates quite a bit of money. And there's no reason why they should not have the opportunity and take the initiative to pay back a little money over time, right? So let's say you come up with a bill, right? In the first year, let's say with an aggressive initial tax of whatever percentage. A year later, you drop that percentage down. 2 years later, you drop it even more. And then by the third or fourth year, or whatever, you just have a maintenance percentage.
And it's just a coffers.
2%.
For
which
when
was
the shit happens.
Right. And so collectively,
but who's in charge of that when something happens here, here, and here?
So again,
you have to have another.
Leave federal officials out of it.
Is it a trust? Yeah, there's no federal.
I honestly feel that a trust is probably the best case scenario. And here's the thing.
There's no federal. This has nothing to do with DC.
We're not blaming them.
But
we're not waiting for them.
Yes.
This is the point of what I'm trying to say, right?
I love it.
And so let's say
it's freaking brilliant, people.
That first year, all of Kauai, Oahu, Maui, Big Island, everybody pays into this, right?
And let's say nothing happens for 5 years, right?
You still build a coffers for anybody else in need, and we collectively, cooperatively help heal.
And you don't even hardly feel it.
No.
But they're gonna fight it because the greed is the greed. But maybe over here, this might not work. This would probably not work hard. Maybe in Wyoming, maybe in small states that feel like there's something. This would never work in California and shit, yeah. But over here, this needs to work. So how you say we propose a bill? How does that start from the ground up?
I feel
the voters.
Yeah.
Petition, signatures.
Yeah. So
to the state senate.
Cooperatively, there are a lot of residents within this state, right, in every county that feel for and are directly affected by this, and or have loved ones and family members that are directly affected by this. So cooperatively, different professionals, right, and consultants and experts in these different fields could come together to develop coalition to help generate the right legislature to put this into action.
And the best lawyers, what's it called when you do it for free? Not quid pro quo.
Pro bono.
Pro bono, yeah.
Right, but see, the thing about that is, like, it doesn't cost anybody to brainstorm and come up with these ideas. It definitely didn't cost me $1 to come up with this concept. And in fact,
and that's what this country is based on.
Well, okay, so let's say this idea proposed, right? What I've just proposed would generate a huge amount of revenue in a very short amount of time. Believe it or not, okay?
Oh, huge.
And even if you,
I think it has to be 1%. I think they would push back a 5.
Sure.
1%'s plenty.
Sure. Okay. Collectively. And let's say after 1 or 2 years, all the other counties can drop out and say, okay, now we're just paying into our own particular accounts and coffers. Right. Now, how do you apply that initial first lump sum to this specific scenario, right?
You mean when something catastrophic happens, you mean?
That's down the road.
So what scenario are you talking about?
I'm talking about if this bill, because right now, a lot of the people that are affected by this natural disaster, okay, right now, a lot of them have nowhere to go. If this bill was put into place now,
Let's say it was 3 years ago. Or no, okay, let's say
but
it's
it
not.
wasn't, okay.
Okay.
Let's say we put this bill into effect and we start generating monies now.
It would take a year though, probably, right?
Be that as it may, those people displaced will not have a home 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years from now. Okay?
So
Unfortunately,
ex
that's
post
the fact.
facto, they should get it too, yeah?
Well, here's what I would say. What you could do is have third-party lenders in the meantime start construction and development.
And knowing
of
that this
short-term-
bill will pay their shit off.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you built a low-income housing development, let's say 5 stories tall, 10 units on either side of a single aisle, housing 3 bedrooms per unit, right? So you have first floor is 10 units with 3 bedrooms, right? On either side, that's like 30 units. 5 stories tall.
In Lahaina,
Yeah.
right there, yeah, okay.
Let's say you did 6 of those. There's only, I believe, about 3,500 or $3,000 of people that have lost their residence. Now, again, you got to understand a small percentage of those people are not full-time residents, but the majority, okay. Well, what you could do is very quickly fund the construction of a neighborhood of apartment housings, call it condos, whatever you will, 5 stories tall.
Is all this though, is none of this, because I've heard some stuff like, is there some federal issues with Lahaina? And like they're saying that
not
it could be
aware.
poison or the shit's
Okay,
too,
so that-
all that.
Expand on that. You tell me what you've heard.
Well, I've heard they're not letting even people come in because it's highly toxic due to fire, and there's a whole, conspiracy theory like the Super Bowl's rigged because Taylor Swift brings $1 billion to the NFL. In the same way, a small place that is worth this much money in this isolated area like Lahaina, maybe you just burn it down and then take over and control. Is it all state or do we have to get federal
Well,
when you're talking about building these things and all that?
here's, in regards to what you're saying, here's my understanding. Because the EPA has...
Environmental Protection Agency.
Right. The EPA
How corrupt
does...
are they?
Well, it is, again, a government agency, much like the FDA.
Weren't they the ones saying you can't come on your property? People just trying to
Are
see what
saying
happened?
right now, okay, these federal agencies are saying that even if an insurance company, again, and this only applies to homeowners, right, recipients of an
Right.
insurance payout, even if you have a check right now for $2 million cut to you, okay,
To rebuild your shit.
right, the EPA is not going to deem this area habitable for X amount of time, and this is an indeterminate time right now because they're saying like the soils and the groundwater is polluted and cancerous and toxic to a point where until the EPA, right?
But what's
Decides-
their underlying
Well, see, there's no
plan?
clear definitive answer as to
They're
how
gonna
long
fuck people out of their
they're
fucking.
going to wait. And you know what the reality is? If you are living,
This is
if
federal.
you're living in a FEMA camp right now, if you are staying with your friends on their couch, if you're camping in a tent right now, you can do that for, unfortunately, as long as it is been, which is too long. Let's add 6 months to that. Let's add a year to that. But you can't do that for the next 4 or 5 years, waiting for a government agency to deem your homestead habitable again. So for the renters, for the subletters, for the peoples that did not actually have insurance coverage, right? Anybody who's cut a check, they're going to take that money, they're going to spend it, boom. But they won't rebuild right there for any time soon.
And it's
And
for
you
the
still have to carry
feds
on.
somehow.
Your kids have to go to school, you have to go back to work.
They're gonna buy them out. They're gonna wait so long.
Well, they
and
don't
then
even have to buy them out, they can wait them out. And that's the
Right,
unfortunate
that's what I'm
part.
saying.
And this is why, good point. And I'm
Isn't
glad-
this why we fucking fought England 270 years ago, bro?
Well, be
over
that as it
taxes
may, back
and
then it
shit.
was the
and-
rich against the rest. And
Well,
right now,
it's
this
the
is the rich
same
against
now.
us.
Okay,
Exactly.
So go ahead.
What I'm saying is,
Ugh!
this proposal of affordable relief housing could be built really close to ground zero, right?
Yeah.
And anybody that winds up gaining residence there has let's call it a lease of 10 years, but they can continue to put their kids in school, go back to work,
Are these the
and
people that
maintain.
had houses burnt down?
Anybody living there in Lahaina that was displaced,
Right. Okay.
even if you're not a homeowner,
Homeowners
right?
and renters.
I'm talking about anybody who is displaced has the opportunity to live in these quote-unquote low-income and or temporary housing development structures that could be built very quickly, by the way. Do not think this would take years to do. You could do this very rapidly, actually.
Yes.
Okay? And then you give them a moratorium. Tell them, okay, you can live here for 6 years or whatever time it takes for the EPA to rule these places to be redeveloped and whatnot. After so many years, give them the right to buy. Okay? Give them the right to buy or rent long term. Continue their tenure, their lease. Or make it affordable for seniors, make it affordable for students, whatever the case may be. These housing structures don't have to be temporary, but they can be.
But the worst part is, ain't gonna happen.
Not with that attitude. And this is a good point. Everybody wants to doubt it.
So
Everybody
I'm
wants
talking
to
about,
oppose the
is there a way
possibilities
for does this
and the
state-
logistics. Everybody wants to be a naysayer. But if
Okay,
your
right.
country and your leadership is willing to
They're
spend
not though.
$93 billion
Yeah,
for Ukraine and
that.
Israel on a Sunday, and you didn't vote for this, right? Then I think there's enough money on the table for you to take the opportunity and come up with a vote right here and now and decide how to spend
On
a
a
certain
state
amount of
level
money.
though.
Absolutely.
It can't. Is there a way to keep the federal, like the EPA and all that shit? How do we?
Well, let me ask you this. Remember when they banned plastic bags at grocery stores?
Yeah. And
That's
well,
a
before that was used plastic because they didn't want paper because of the rainforest in the
Either
70s.
way, the case is that's not a national thing. It's a state thing.
Well, but that's a little thing in a grocery store.
Right. But this is a big thing that is more important.
But can it be is there a way for this to be on a state level without the federal
The
government?
weight is in the hands of the voters, the listeners, the residents, the taxpayers. That's how you
But it always
vote.
seems like Big Brother will just say,
They can fight us in so many other ways.
that's what I
This is
worry
an
about.
opportunity to play the game the way it is designed.
And figure
And
out the
you-
loopholes too. Get really good. We need lawmen. That's the number one thing that care about this.
Well, let me explain this to you. Whether you're a tourist, a full-time resident, a native Hawaiian Islander, or just some rich guy that wants to buy up parcels of land, this devastation, this natural disaster could affect you in the future. So it is best for all of us to cooperate and find a solution that includes everybody, rather than pointing out who should do what, could do what, didn't do this, that, who's to blame. Why not we get together and come up with a solution that protects all of us in every county,
Us,
across the state? And that's really what I have to say.
And bypass bypass DC and not have their hands in it somehow.
Hey man, if you're waiting for Superman, I'm sorry to say, but it ain't gonna happen.
All right. This is the spirit of sports. We're talking sports. We're talking life. And you know what? I'm gonna forego my only live. You can stream this forever because this is important shit. You know,
I think everybody should hear it.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm gonna put
even
this.
if you don't live in this state, you might need this proposal.
And it might work.
You might need this concept to save your asses.
In your state.
FEMA won't do it.
Yeah. And it would never work in, like, California. I don't see it.
Well, they're people too. And they're taxpayers.
Yeah, but
and they
they're
deserve
too big and...
Hold on.
Huh.
There's no prejudice against larger states. You guys in
I just don't
California,
think this
everywhere
will work.
else, you deserve this type of protection and cohesiveness too, because if you're paying taxes, you're part of it.
That's true.
You deserve it.
Okay.
That's all I'll say.
Thanks, Ray. Look we're going to have this conversation a lot.
Yeah. That's just
We might just have a Ray show. So you can stream this one starting tomorrow. It's going to be live only. Or the really good ones I will have again. But thanks, brother.
No worries.
This guy. Okay. Aloha.